So in this video, I'm going to briefly go over all the tools you're going to need for the metalworking side of your Squarebody body repair project. And we're not going to get into the paint, the body filler, all that stuff, just strictly the metal stuff here. So now let's talk about some of the tools you may need or want. The cordless impact definitely speeds everything up, taking out bolts and screws. A good high amperage angle grinder with a beefy wire wheel on it with a dedicated on-off switch will really come in handy. I use this to remove the paint so I can find the spot weld locations. I can clean up surface rust to determine if it's just surface rust or if it's impregnated far enough to where we need to replace some metal. I can also use it to quickly remove paint and body filler. Of course, you'll need a cordless drill to remove those old spot welds, as well as make new holes for your new spot welds. You'll obviously need painter's tape if you're doing body work. I like to get a variation. I have 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 2 inch. Phillips and flathead screwdrivers. The flathead screwdriver comes in handy as a pry bar, especially when you're trying to line panels up to get them welded flush and even. I like my air grinder with my little Rolock disc. This will keep the heat out of the part. I find that pneumatic tools have a lot more control than electric. If you know you're going to be replacing the body panels, then an air hammer with an air chisel is not a bad idea. It's definitely easy to destroy body panels once you start using this, so I only recommend it if you're for sure going to be replacing that panel completely. These sheet metal spacers, basically it's a clamp. It spaces the metal this far apart for your weld. The square goes through the back, and once you tighten it up, it pulls the metal tight up against this square key stock, which should in theory flush up both panels. So it flushes them up and it spaces them apart for your weld. My preferred method for cutting is actually a pneumatic angle grinder instead of electric. I get so much more control with it. It stalls out a lot easier and it stops almost instantly compared to an electric. With the torque of an electric, it's really easy for it to take off and get away from you and screw a lot of things up in a hurry. Of course, you're going to need a good clean shop air supply, so make sure you have plenty of clean compressed air and make sure it's dry and make sure you have oil for your tools. I like to have a ratchet strap just so I can hold panels where I want them, align things, adjust things. Since I'm one person working in the shop by myself and I don't have that extra set of hands, this can be my extra set of hands. Of course, you might need a hammer just to beat things with, a chisel, various vice grips, body clamps, and pry bars. Bring several Sharpies. I like to have several so when one quits working I have a backup, and I also like to have a couple different colors. For these black coated replacement panels, I find silver works really well. Obviously you want an air chuck to blow everything off to keep things clean, and you'll find that in a lot of cases you'll need a straight edge of some sort. And a little TV magic later. I'm in different clothes, as you can see. That's because it's been 2 weeks. I was waiting on tools to arrive. It's absolutely ridiculous right now trying to get stuff in that you order. So that's why I'm making this video, so you can get everything you need before you try to start your project. So some other tools we're gonna need. I've got these Cleco fasteners. They'll come with this kind of special pair of pliers. They go over like this, and that expands, or that actually smashes it down so you can get it through the hole. Then when you open it back out, it expands. This is a sheet metal clamp. You'll also want to get the right size drill bits because they're very specific. I think it's like plus or minus 5 thousandths, and they're oddball sizes. I got the 1/8 inch and the 3/16 Cleco sizes, and they take a number 10 and a number 30 drill bit. Basically what that does is you want to position a piece of sheet metal and know where it goes. You want to clamp it up tight for welding or riveting, or maybe you want to take a piece of sheet metal, locate it, and then cut the support off. I'll show you an example later in this series, but that just lets you locate things pretty precisely. These special copper-backed vice grips will allow you to make spot welds with basically a through hole, and then you'll start your weld on the copper backing plate. The steel shouldn't stick to the copper, and that allows you to do your spot welds. For drilling out the spot welds, there's 2 options. There's these mini hole saws. They have basically a piece here that's reversible, so you get two usable sides. So when you destroy one side, you flip it over, screw it back on. And then this style actually has a replaceable center pin. Now, this design's okay. It's kind of a joke because it's based off a hole saw. A hole saw actually has a drill bit in the middle. This just has what's supposed to be a hardened center pin or like a center punch. And if you look at any weld, you know, it's all odd shaped and it's hard to get that pin to stick on top of the weld. So I don't really like this style. Go with whatever you can find cheapest because you're gonna go through a boatload of these things. What I think I like more is this, what they call a spot weld drill bit. And this is kind of like a spade bit for metal. So if you think of a spade bit, that's like a hole saw for wood in a sense. And you can see here it's essentially just a spade bit and a drill bit. And these last a little bit longer, a little more expensive. I'd also suggest getting multiples because you're probably going to destroy them. In either case, it's really destructive taking a bit at high speed and trying to ram it into something like a spot weld, because with either setup, you want to have contact on the part you're trying to drill out before you start drilling. It shatters when the drill bit's spinning and then it touches the metal. That's the biggest problem. And with the inconsistencies that you're going to find in spot welds, you're going to run into lots of broken drill bits. You're probably going to benefit from reducing your welding wire diameter. So a lot of you are probably running 0.35. That's the most common size of welding wire. Some of you might have 0.30. This 0.23 is going to be your best bet. Go as small as possible. It's going to allow you to run the minimal amount of amperage. It's going to allow you to have longer arc times instead of having to sit there and zap it. You might actually be able to keep your arc going for a second or two without burning through your sheet metal. I was trying 0.35 and minimal amperage, and I could still barely just, you know, zap it, and I'm still burning through the sheet metal. So things to be aware of: you're going to need 0.23 contact tips for the end of your gun. You're probably going to need a new setup for your wire feed, so that's your drive rolls and your guide, your wire guide. Now, most liners in the welding gun themselves, they're going to be pretty lenient, so they're going to have a range. Basically, imagine taking a garden hose and trying to feed wire through it. You don't want that wire winding all over side to side. You want it to be fairly tight inside. If you're doing a small project like I am, you're going to be able to get away with running an oversized liner, because a liner is going to set you back $20 to $50. And obviously, we want to save money where we can. So if you're going to skimp on something, I would skimp on the liner. You're definitely going to have to change your drive rolls, or you're not going to get proper wire feed though. And then the wire, I want it to go all out. I got a 12-pound spool here, which is actually the biggest they have. I got the Lincoln L56. This is the bigger spool. This is the only thing that'll fit my welder. If your welder's smaller and you can fit one of the little tiny spools, I'd probably go with that, because you're not going to use that much actual welding wire. And then lastly, you're going to need a hammer and dolly set to smooth out your metal. And I'm sure the more expensive ones are worth the purchase. These are like the $20 from AutoZone or O'Reilly's. You can see some really crappy grind marks on them. This is not smooth or level at all. I could have done a better job at getting this level with an angle grinder, but I'm not going for perfection. If you are going for perfection, I would invest in the $200 to $300 set, because that's when they're going to be machined and ground with a CNC. I've also heard of these hammerheads shattering and exploding, so you definitely get what you pay for, but you got to have something, because using a nail hammer is not going to work. So thanks for tuning in. I hope I can show you a lot of good things throughout this series. I'm going to record as I'm working, bring you right in, and I'll probably be learning some new things as I'm showing them to you. But this is a project I've been working on for over a year now, so I thought, hey, it's probably a good idea I start recording it and start sharing it with some of my followers. So I'll see you in the next one. Not sure when it'll be, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Thanks.